All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's Stock Analysis Fridays. My name is Bennett McDowell with TradersCoach.com, and I will be here today going over stocks that you are interested in, whether you have a position currently in them or you're thinking about trading in them or somebody recommended one, bring them here, and I'll take a look at them from a technical standpoint using our proprietary software and give you a thumbs up, thumbs down, or wait it out. Okay, so that's kind of what we're all about here. All right, great. The great thing about a event like this is the more people we get, the more stocks we look up, the more opportunities we can find. Finding good trades is kind of like finding a needle in the haystack. So you need to kind of sort through a whole bunch to get those really great ones. And so that's what this is all about, sorting through stocks in order to find the ones that will be terrific trades. All right, so let me just go through a few administrational items. You guys can start typing in your stocks or ETFs in the comments area, and please type them in caps, okay? That definitely helps me see them better, of course. All right, so let's go ahead and go through the administrational items here first. Quick thing on the risks involved in trading. Like I always say, without that risk, there is no opportunity. So the two really go hand in hand. But we do want you to be aware of the risks and how to best protect yourself against the downside of a trade. Not all trades work, all right? We deal in a realm of probabilities. So even when we have a very strict trading method of entries and exits and targets, doesn't mean we always win. There's a times when we don't win, and we want to be able to protect our downside. So that's all about risk control. Please trade with money you can afford to risk, called risk capital. You do not want to be trading your mortgage payment or your rent payment, that's for sure. Too much stress, right? All right, so don't do that. And also to check with your financial advisor or whoever manages your money for you before actually taking a trade that we may recommend here, because we don't know your personal situation. They do, and some of the trades here, even though they may be terrific setups, they may not be suitable for you, okay? So definitely check with them first. And then finally, past performance does not guarantee future performance, and no trade is guaranteed. Again, we work in a realm of probability, so that's really important to note. All right, now, if we need help in the risk control area, I have two great books on that. One is called The Trader's Money Management System. That's on the far left. And then on the right side, I have Money Management for Traders. The Money Management for Traders, what we did with that book was we basically took all the important elements out of a trader's money management system and put them in there in a very concise, almost like Cliff Note approach to risk control. And so if you're looking for a really quick way to implement risk control without having to understand all the underlying variables, that's a great book for you. If you want a deeper dive, go with the Trader's Money Management System, where we go into the details of why and how we developed the risk control program here at TradersCoach.com. All right, now, Elliott Wave Techniques is another book that's out. It's been out for years. It's a bestseller. And basically, that's going to cover a form of technical analysis called the Elliott Wave. You'll probably see me use that today. Survival Guide for Traders is how to run your trading business like a professional hedge fund. It's a great reference book as well. And then I've got a brand new book coming out in 2024 called The Art of Trading. And this is a second edition. My first edition's on the left side there, and that one came out in 2008. But since then, we have come up with different types of strategies, new software in order to increase the probabilities of a trade. So you definitely want to check out that book, and you can pre-order that. And I'll put a link to all this stuff on the recording later on today. All right, same thing with the software. I'll put a link for our software as well if you're interested in purchasing any of this. We have charting software, we have scanners, and we have risk control software. So basically, this software is proprietary in nature, and you'll see it on my charts. I'll explain a little bit of it as we go through it. But again, if you want to learn more about this, we have a lot of information on our website, and I'll give you a link on the recording. All right, so take a minute, if you wouldn't mind, right now, and give us a like. And as Gene says, Okay. Thank you. Type in stocks and ETFs in all caps, and I'll review those for you. And there it is. So take a minute right now. Give us likes before we get into it, because the more likes you have, the better YouTube likes us, of course. All right. So let me come out of here and let's go ahead and dive into a particular market I want to take a quick look at here as well. Before I do that, a few things on what you're looking at here. All right, so I have 3 charts up in front of you, and those 3 charts all have the same symbol. And we're going to start out taking a look at GBTC, which is the ETF for Bitcoin. And as you know, we recommended this one quite a while back when it was under $10, and it is just soaring right now. So that hopefully you guys were able to get into this when we recommended it and are pretty happy. You certainly should be. It's over a 300% return in a very short period of time. And we don't think it's done, but we'll go over what we think is going to happen both short term and long term on this in just a moment. But back to what you're looking at here. If you notice, I have 3 charts. On the far left, I have a 60-minute chart over here. And what that means is that every price bar you see on this chart represents an hour of activity. On the center chart, I have a daily chart. And this is a little longer term in terms of technical analysis, because every price bar here represents a full day of activity. And then on the far right, we have the weekly chart, where every price bar here represents a full week of activity. So when you have these types of divisions amongst the time frames on the same symbol, what it really does for you, it gives you a short-term aspect of what's going to happen sooner rather than later. And for that, we go to the 60-minute chart. Then we have the intermediate term going to happen after the 60. And then we have the weekly, which is the long-term overview and kind of gives you a roadmap of where things ultimately should go on the market we're looking at. So this type of reference in terms of technical analysis is called multiple time frame analysis. And I find it to be a really, really super useful way in which to look at markets, because right away at a glance, I have a short-term look, intermediate, long-term look. And basically when I go trading a particular stock, I want to have most of these time frames, if not all of them, in sync. And if you do that, you're going to find your probabilities of success in trading are a lot higher. Now, in addition to those 3 time frames, I also have all our software loaded. So I don't know if you can see that at home. I'm certainly sure you can, but you can have triangles here. We have triangles here. This is all part of the applied reality trading system, also known in the industry as ART. And ART's been around now for over 20 years, and it's just been a highly successful and accepted trading format in the trading industry. And basically what that's doing for you is it's looking at price patterns for high probability trend trading. It's looking at potential pivot points called ART reversals. It's taking into account the true range of any particular pattern that forms, and it also looks at momentum. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes when you are looking at these triangles. And the development of this software back 20 years ago, it took us about a couple years to get it right. And so a lot of testing has gone into this, and it's just super. And that is available as well, along with our indicators at the bottom called the OWL, which looks at momentum and helps us count the Elliott wave. See, we're in a wave 3 at this point on this time frame. And then also too, we've got the PTF, which indicates a neutral or a bullish or a bearish possible new high. Then we got the trend line master here, giving us the quick dirty on the trend. And then at the bottom, we got the ERI for our emotional reader index, measuring fear and greed at any given time. So that's the software we have at traderscoach.com. We also have a complete website dedicated to our software called appliedrealitytrading.com. At the top of our scanners. This is how we find markets to trade. We're not going to be using those today because you guys are going to be giving me symbols. All right, so let's just take a quick look now at GBTC and see where we are on this. All right, tremendous run up. Okay, it really started in the beginning of 2023. And if you look at the weekly chart over here and look at the bottom, you can see where we have the date. And since 2023, it's just skyrocketed. So we were kind of hoping this would be a bottom, and it looks certainly like it is. And we were kind of pretty aware of that back in the April or spring time frame. And then it jumped down dramatically and then took off again. So when you start out trading in a new trend, it's very important to keep that stop as low as you can, because you usually see quite a bit of volatility in a big move up. So if you kept your stop below, fine. If not, you got stopped out, well, the daily chart gave you plenty of reasons to re-enter. So we think this is going to eventually make a new high, probably above the $60 mark. So we think we're about halfway up for this particular market, and probably in cryptos in general. But however, you are going to get a pullback. You usually, when you have a big move up like this, you see some profit taking coming in at some point. So if you're in it and you're trying to get to that high level, I would suggest keeping that stop as low as you can below this pyramid, second pyramid back in here. And that should save you from any profit taking. Now, if you're not in it, the profit taking is going to be the chance for you to get into it, because when it pulls back, that's when you'll have the best possible price to get into it. Now, how far is it going to pull back? Well, let's take a look at this possibility on a fib retracement. And we'll use the 60-minute chart here. So we're looking at a pullback at some point, probably around 29 to 24 or 25, right around in that ballpark. Now, it's very possible it could make one more high here before we get a pullback. So we want to look at it next week as well. But I think it's getting pretty close for us to see some type of pullback before it goes back up. If you're in it, I would stay in it. If you're considering it, put it on the watch list. The other one to take a look here, of course, is Coinbase as well. Okay, this is another one that seems really pretty good at this point too. And again, similar dynamics as Bitcoin. And then that is another one here that wait for the pullback, and I think you'll have a great opportunity to get in. And then also too, you have the next one, which is Blockchain, Riot Blockchain, and this is another one. So all the cryptos seem to be doing pretty well. Now there's another symbol out there called XRP, which you may want to consider. There's many analysts that think that this particular market may do really well as well. And, you can take a look at that on your own, because currently the data for that is going to take a while to load. But that XRP is an excellent one as well. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so our first one here is from Stu. Stu, how are you? P-A-R-A. Let's take a look at P-A-R-A. All right, so we looked at Coinbase. Stu, if you have any particular questions on Coinbase, let me know, but that is a winner for sure. Hopefully you've been in that for a while, but we probably are going to get some profit taking even on that one. All right, so here's one that is jumping off the bottom. And so the next question is, how far is it going to go? And again, what I take a look at is all three time frames. And one of the things that's jumping out for me is this red PTF over here. So right away, the PTF is indicating that this is probably not a bottom. And the PTF has about a 75% accuracy rate. So I kind of trust it on this. And what does that mean? Where is it going? Well, the lower time frames, the daily here and the 60-minute, are bullish, because we have green, and we do have red here, but we have green here. So how do you interpret that? Well, basically, we're in a profit-taking stage to the upside, which means all the shorts are probably covering. Some people may be thinking we have a bottom in here, and so therefore they're jumping in. So chances are you're probably going to get a little bit more movement to the upside, simply because the PTFs are still green. The question is how far? Well, I would say overall, we probably are looking at a pull up into this target zone. So probably a little bit more higher in here. So we could probably go as high as 19 or 20 before seeing a pullback. So there is a possibility of a trade, but again, I don't think I'm going to recommend this one, because if you look at the 60-minute chart, it's gone up so much. I would wait for a pullback and see if that PTF remains green on these lower time frames. So hopefully you're long on this. If so, I think you can keep it for a little longer, but be careful, because when it ends and that PTF remains red on the weekly chart, you're probably going to have to get out. Okay, so that's the only thing. All right, one more quick look at Coinbase. If you have any questions on this one, let me know. But Coinbase is off and running. But again, I think you're probably looking at some form of a pullback on this. And if it happened today, the pullback would probably get you back into the 118 to 100 mark, and we're at 142. And that would be a normal profit-taking pullback based on this extreme leg up. Notice all the pyramids putting you long here and trailing your stops. So you're in pretty good shape with that. But we'll see. You have a green PTF on the lower time frame, so we probably will get one more high before this is all over. So that's kind of where we're at. And when I say all over, I mean before the profit taking. Again, like GBTC, I think this will make brand new highs at some point. You're just gonna have to wait a couple of years. So I think the cryptos are overall very bullish, except for the fact of a pullback. All right, Jim, good to have you here. Let's take a look at USO. USO has been a very interesting ETF that focuses on crude oil. And it's come down quite a bit, as you can see on all these charts here. Now, a normal pullback on this would have been between the two blue lines, and it's definitely heading back down almost, okay, to its bottom down in here. So I'm going to take a line here, and let's go ahead and go across here. That we feel is a bottom. If that gets taken out, then we're wrong. That's not a bottom. So this is an example here. After you have a really big move up off a bottom, all right, you want to then make your stop on the next area up. So for example, let's take a look at that. Here's the bottom down here, right? Big move up, big pullback, big move up, takes out the high. Now you can move your stop here, all right, and keep it there unless you want to trade this trend right here. Then use the pyramids and you would have been stopped out close to 80 bucks. But instead, if you're in it for the long term, then you got to keep your stop super low, because as you can see, markets have a lot of volatility and we could be getting that as well. So I would say at this point, don't go in it. If you're thinking about going in it, let's wait for this move down. We've got a lot of red on the owls, which is this first indicator here on the lower time frames. So I would say wait until we see some bullish momentum. We have some bearish pyramids still in place. So I'm not recommending USO at this time until we see some type of recovery and we see that that bottom is indeed holding. All right, so that's kind of where I'm at now on USO. All right, gold. Gold is another one we've been bullish on. It's been on our recommended list. And we're going to take a look at the long-term chart on this, because this really tells a very interesting story on gold. All right, so if you look at this chart, and we go back quite a ways, this was a wave 3 that occurred. And an Elliott wave 3 means that it assigns numbers to trend waves in the market. There are 5 waves in a trend. And then at the end of the 5th wave, the trend ends. So wave 3 is a big, big move up. Wave 4 is a correction or profit-taking move. And now we're in wave 5. And wave 5 usually takes out the high of wave 3, which you see here. But it does it with kind of a less dramatic type of wave. It's kind of more volatile. It's a little bit not as exciting as wave 3, but it does take out the high. And then we usually have bearish divergence in our owl indicator here, indicating that this particular owl was the highest. This one was not on this move up. So that's higher prices with a lower or decreasing owl is bearish divergence. And you always have bearish divergence between wave 5 and wave 3 in an Elliott wave count. Now, some things here. One thing is we've got a green PTF and a green owl. So we're still moving up. My target on this is around anywhere from about 210 or 220 to about 240 as a possibility on this. And in the meantime, though, you can see I have some blue lines drawn here. And basically what we're looking at is perhaps some profit taking coming in at some point, right? So we may have a little pullback, but for right now, it is doing pretty well. And let's take a look at the lower time frames. And you can see here, we will move these up for a potential area where it would pull back. But we still have a pretty powerful owl here. This was our target that we anticipated on the 60-minute chart. So we hit the target and now we're pulling back. So one more time in the target. And as long as that owl stays green on the weekly chart, you can hold this for a long-term trade or even investment, so to speak, in your portfolio. If that turns yellow on the weekly chart, then you want to start lightening up. Do not buy any more. And of course, at that particular point, you may want to start moving your money into something else. Okay, so that's the deal on that. All right, Eleanor, how are you? All right, SNOW. We looked at this one last week. Good old snow. All right, so snow was in a kind of a bottoming situation here. We don't have a lot of history on the weekly chart. We go back to about 2020, and that's it. And that's not too much history for a stock. It is a fairly expensive stock at 190, but notice we have a green PTF on the weekly and even a green PTF on the daily. So that's this indicator here is green, green, we have green, we have green, we have green, and yellow indicating neutral. So no red, okay? So when you have a situation like that, that's very bullish. And notice now we're breaking out of this channel. We did once, it pulled back. It looks like it's trying to break out again. So this is looking pretty darn good for a long trade. And what I would be very interested in seeing is a breakout. Let me grab my horizontal line, a breakout above this area here. And it looks like we're close. If you want to be super conservative, you can put your breakout line on the highest point in this area. But I think if you can put it right here, you're fine. So what would I do with this? Well, I think basically we want to wait until that line gets broken and then I'd go with it, okay? Now, you probably will get a pullback at some point. We got a little bearish divergence building in the owl in the 60-minute. So that's kind of why I'm trying to wait for the breakout before going in case we get that pullback. So snow I like. If you're in it, stay in it. Put your stop way down in this area here to survive any type of pullback. So stop down under here if you're already in it. Otherwise, wait it out just a little bit longer. Excellent one. Everybody should have that one on their watch list. So I'm going to recommend this one a go only if it breaks that line. And so you can keep an eye on it. All right, let's take a look at AMD, Advanced Micro Devices here, big chip manufacturer. Okay, so quickly, let's open up the weekly chart. And in terms of the Elliott wave count, and remember that's a form of technical analysis, this is a big, big move up here. And that is typical of an Elliott wave. All right, so that was a 3. Then we came down to a 4, and now we have this situation where we're going up to a 5. I think you can hold this one. We have not gotten above wave 3, and we probably will. Let me draw in a target of where I think things are going to go. And for that, I'll use a fib extension. And let me just draw that in there. So I'm thinking probably the PTF is above the wave 3 high. So I'm thinking around 177 to 210 for a high probability top on this. So you got a long range. I mean, if it gets to the 210, that's almost 100% return. Okay, not quite, of course, but close. All right, so I think it's pretty good. If you're going to make this a long-term trade, do not ratchet your stop too close. Instead, keep it under here. Okay, so that's kind of where I'm at with that one. Now, let's take a look at the lower time frames just to see if they add any clues here. All right, no, I see no red. There's yellow is okay. You can go long or short on the yellow PTF. So that's looking pretty good. So yeah, I think I'm going to recommend this one. This is a good one. AMD is a winner today. All right. And I would hold this as long as you can until we get into that target zone. So again, minimum target here is around 180. Okay. So looking good. Good job on that one. All right, Meta. I've been following Meta. Okay, Meta has, of course, done pretty well here. The only thing with Meta now, I think it probably is getting close to some profit taking. So you got to be a little bit careful here. We could see one more high on this. It's very possible, and then get the profit taking. But we're starting to see bearish divergence building here. We had our first kind of move down. All right. And then we've had a slow trickle up. All right. And now it looks to me like we're probably at this point here, probably coming on down again. So very possible. We just missed the fib retracement off here. It is possible for it to come back down, but I got to tell you, it looks to me like we've broken the recent high here. So in terms of an Elliott wave count on this, I'm thinking somewhere around 3, 4, and working our way up to 5. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. I would put your stop under this level here. And at this particular point, I think with Meta, you can go ahead and go long for one more high. Once it reaches wave 5, then probably we're going to get a major sell-off in terms of profit taking. Okay, so this is a buy. Okay, I don't think you need to wait anymore. Okay, we had a little profit taking on this leg up here. I think last week we might have been waiting a little bit for this possibly, but right now that's, I think, pretty much over. So I would go ahead and do that with a target of 412 to 498. So Meta is a buy. All right, you got 2 there, Eleanor. Good job. All right, Google. Now, Google, we went into earlier, but we put this on a watch list. We put this on a hold right now because at that particular point, we haven't broken the high here. We've had a good size correction. The problem with this one is that we may see some more profit taking before we see another high. And that's the only thing that concerns me here. Now, recently we had a gap up, okay, in it. And it changed the PTF on the 60-minute chart to green. So we may get above another high here before it sells off. But that's kind of going to be it. So it's not enough of a move up, I think, that we could get in order to justify entering at this point. I would wait for a pullback to enter into a position that you can hold for a while. So I don't think Google is done. I think it's in a bullish uptrend right now. I think we're probably due for some profit taking on it, and then that will be the point where you can get a better entry. If you're long in it, keep your stop below these blue lines. Okay, you have to have your stop in this area to survive any type of profit taking. So let's say around 108 is where your stop, which is pretty far away. Okay, so keep that in mind. Expensive stock, you can always use an option. So again, my recommendation on Google is if you're long, stay long. If you're not, wait for a little bit of a profit-taking situation to come in here, and hopefully you'll get a better price for a long entry. All right, so that is the Goog. All right, AVAV. All right, so this is one that's been moving up quite a bit on this here. Don't know if you're already long on this. But my situation with this one is you probably got another high coming before we get any type of significant selling apparent on the weekly chart. We're seeing some significant selling now, both on the daily and also on the 60-minute. So in terms of should you be long, well, our system would have had you out of a long trade here at this pyramid. So even if you gave it a little room, you're gone. If you traded the 60-minute, you would have been out as well. So basically, wait for this pullback to be done. Let's see if the PTF remains green here. It just turned green over here. I don't know if you can see that, but let me widen that up a little bit, and I think you'll see the green PTF better on the weekly chart. So more highs are coming, but I don't see jumping in here. You ever hear the term catching a falling knife? That's kind of what you'd be doing here. We don't know how much this is going to come back down before it settles and gets ready for another move up. So I do think you're going to get another move up. Let's just wait for this thing to come down. We're in the target zone roughly for the retracement area but let's let it turn around. We still have a very strong bearish owl in the 60 minutes, so it's not quite done, I don't think. All right, so those are excellent ones. So AMD looks really good, and so far Meta too. So you had two there. Good job. All right, let's keep moving along here. All right, so let's see. All right, we've got a lot of stocks coming in. This is super. All right, so let's see what we got. Bill, I think you are next. All right, revisit BL. Yes, we have to do that because I think we looked at that last week and it's getting kind of close. So BLDP, and we kind of want to see it bouncing off the bottom. All right, let's take a look here. Okay, so a couple things I like. Notice we got a bullish pyramid there, and I think we may have had that last week, or at least it was forming last week. So that's a good sign, all right? So we got a bullish pyramid. There's no more shorts that we're active on. Those have been stopped out back in November. Now we've reached maybe a bottom here, and we're coming up off that bottom. So that is looking really good there. And let's just see how the weekly chart is. Okay, so the weekly chart, you're going against a bearish trade, but the trade stop out is pretty close. All right, it looks maybe like around $4 or so. And notice here, let me just ratchet this in here. Notice here that you went all the way up and all the way down. So classic, probably long-term wave 2 bottom here. And of course, you've got bullish divergence like crazy right over here. So big bullish divergence here. Okay, price is coming down and the momentum or excitement in that move down is dwindling. So you usually see this when the trend down or up, but in this case it's down, becomes mature, and that's an indication that it's pretty much done. So then we look for a turnaround, and we may be starting to see that. All right, couple things here. All right, the daily chart is showing a trade, a buy, okay? We've got green here, we've got a pyramid here, we've got nothing red here, so it's looking pretty good. All right, the 60-minute chart, green PTF, but we have a red owl. All right, this pyramid here is no longer active. Prices went above the base leg of it, so that inactivates it. So there's nothing there that is bearish except for the owl. And here's one of the exceptions. All right, so when you have a bullish PTF and you have a bearish or slightly bearish owl, and you have a bullish scenario here, and you also have a case for a turnaround here. All right, when you look at the totality of what's happening here, there is a reason at this point to go long for an early entry. All right, early entries are a little bit risky because of the fact that you may miss it. Okay, it may make one more bottom, you get stopped out and have to try again. I have found in my trading that when you get a situation like I'm looking at here, an early entry is a good thing to do. And the reason for that is if you get in early, that gives you a lot of flexibility on being able to put your stop even under the pyramid. But the pyramid formed pretty quickly, so that would probably be okay. But the situation is that the risk to reward is huge. So if we're thinking this is our target, 940 to 13, and we're at 399, all right, that's a huge profit potential based on where your stop is. Stop is close, target for profit is far away. So the risk to reward is huge on this, okay? So I'm going to recommend this one. I think it's time, okay? If you want to be a little bit more conservative on your entry, all right, you can just wait until the owl, which is probably going to happen pretty soon in the next week, changes to green on the 60-minute chart. That's the only other thing I think I would say do. Now, with that said, a couple things. Whenever I go against the weekly chart, because technically we still have a short trade here, all right, I usually reduce my trade size by half on the initial entry until the weekly chart turns bullish. Then I may jump it up at that point to a full trade size. And the reason for that is because if we get one more low because of a bearish long-term chart, then okay, we took a half a position. But if the bearish chart turns around and gives us a buy as well, then load it up. Okay, that's kind of the way I work it. So that's just a helpful hint on how I would do that. All right, so that is that one. Thank you for bringing that back. So I'm going to put BLDP on the buy list. Okay, let's take a look at SHLS. Okay, so this is a little different, same idea, but a little different. And what's a little different is we have an active pyramid here. This is red here. This is red here. And this also is red here. Okay, this is yellow. That's okay, and that's okay. So I think we're getting near a bottom here, but like BLDP before, let's be a little more patient and just wait for the bottom to kind of finish. So this is a no-go for now, but definitely on the watch list. Okay, definitely on the watch list. SHLS. All right, so let's take a look at your next one, CHPT. You know, guys, if your broker calls you and recommends a stock, you can bring it here and we'll look it up technically to see if it's a good time to buy it from the charts. All right, so here we got another one very similar. I love the fact that you're looking at potential bottoms, but it's not quite there yet. Okay, we still have an active pyramid for the short trade here. We've got a little bit of bullishness coming in here. All right, but also we've got red here. So we're not quite at a bottom. If we start to head up and take some things out here and things get really bullish here, green here, of course, you may have a profit-taking bullish trade that you could take at that particular point. All right, so that is possible, but I'm not going to recommend that yet. Okay, so in terms of a possible trade here, maybe to 468 to 647. So that's still 100% return on your money. But I'm not going to recommend a trade like that until we get a little more follow through. So let's bring this next week, okay? Bring CHPT, put it on a watch list for now. Any trade we take on that, as long as the PTF is red and the trade is still active to the downside on these time frames, it's a more risky trade. So we're not going to recommend it at this point, okay? And then your final one is WKHS. Let's take a look at that one. Again, boy, I love the fact you're looking at these bottoms. Okay, so the liquidity on this is not as good as the others. And you can see that by this, the 60-minute chart is not kind of as crystal clear in terms of price movement and price bars. You tend to sometimes get some spotting on the lower liquidity, but it's good enough for us to use. All right, so WKS looks like it's starting to maybe turn a little profitable. Now, here's what you got going for you on this. All right, green, green, no more pyramid. Nice move down. You actually did okay on that one to the short side. We still have an active here, okay? So I don't think that one's taken out. Draw a straighter line there. That would always help, right? All right, so drawing tools. Let me go to horizontal line. Let's put it right above that pyramid. Close, okay? I'm going to pop it up so you can see that a little better here. So we need to get that above that pyramid there for us to consider, because technically it's still an active down trade. And like the other ones we looked at, look at the strong bullish divergence in the weekly chart. Okay, so this is very close to going green. Again, it's still an active pyramid pretty much on all these time frames. I would say this is getting really, really close to a long trade. And I believe if you break out above that pyramid here on the daily chart, which is the one in the center, okay, and this is still bullish and bullish, and this is green, you could probably go long on that. Now, I think I'm seeing, yeah, a tiny bit of owl red you see on the 60-minute over here. So you kind of want to, that would turn green if we took this out. So I wouldn't go into it now. I think it's extremely close. Could be a week away, maybe two, all right? So, but it looks like we may be pulling back a teeny bit. So you may get, let's see if this little bottom holds before actually, and see a turnaround and get above that red line before indicating it. So I'm going to put this one on the watch list, and I'd like you to bring this one back next week as well. Okay, so that's so close, but not quite. Let's just make sure that bottoms in case it takes one more move to the downside. All right, thank you, Bill. Good. All right, so out of yours, Bill, we found BLDP for this week. All right, that brings us to Al. Al, how are you? Let's take a look at SKX. All right, nice move off. You're long on all these. Okay, and excellent. All right, so where are we now on this? All right, probably getting ready for some profit taking. And I say that very quickly, not because I'm guessing, but because look at this move up, all right? And then look at the bearish divergence. So when you see that type of thing, we're getting extended, okay, in the move to the upside. It doesn't mean it can't go a little higher, but, you know, is it better to take a trade here or get in down here? Here, right? All right, this is too risky. There's too much white down here. Whenever you see a big move up, there usually will be profit taking following at some point. So where could that end up? Well, we're probably looking at some place around 55 to 51. And that doesn't mean it can't come down and then go back up, because that's probably what will happen. Looks like we're in a wave 3 of some point here. All right, so I'm kind of thinking that, let me just draw in, you know, if you drew a trend line in here on this particular move up here, a very close one, there's your trend line, okay? So we haven't even broken the trend line yet. So technically it's still in a bullish trend. It's just late to get in. So I would probably have my stop right under this pullback here, right near that pyramid. And just at this particular point, get out if you want to for the pullback. Otherwise, if you're going to hang in there during the entire pullback, you got to put it under 51.65. All right. And I would probably get out and then get back in after the pullback. Okay. So that's kind of what I'm thinking on that. All right. So keep your stops tight on that. DXCM. DXCM. All right. It's exact similar thing to this. Okay. No question, based on the weekly chart, the probabilities are in your favor to take out the $160 high. That's probably going to happen. It just is not going to do it in one swift move up. So, you know, the market's always zig and they zag, right? They move up, little profit taking or a breath, and move back up. So we're getting close to that breath. So again, what I would do probably here is I would probably use the 60-minute chart and use this pyramid here to scale out. Or if you're going to stay with it for a little longer, you certainly can. You have bearish divergence here and here. So you're probably going to get some type of brief pullback. Now, this is green, which is interesting. So that's going to affect how I draw the fib retracements on this one. Normally, I'd go way down here and draw them. But because of that's green here on this leg up, you could get a small profit taking to 109 to 102 and then have a bigger move up. So that's kind of what I think may happen. And then after that, you may have even a bigger profit taking. So I'm going to leave that up to you on how you want to handle that. I'm not recommending it as a new trade because it's too extended. All right, that is that one. All right, Etsy, ETSY. All right, so this one looks pretty decent as well. All right, so let's take a look at this. All right, right away, a couple things I like about this. Big move up, big move down. Okay, it looks like almost all the Bitcoins, right? All right, so big move up, big move down. But notice the green PTF indicating that eventually that high is going to be taken out. So that is useful for thinking about a long trade when the timing is correct. And for that, we use the lower time frames. So if we go to ETSY on the daily chart here, notice we have green, green. We have green here on the 60, but red here. So we're having a little bit of a pullback here. So I would not go long until this turns green. All right, because it may come down another couple of points. I don't think it's anything serious. If you're long and you're hanging in there for the long duration, then you want to just keep your stop right here. Okay, you got to keep it far away because it could pull back at any time for profit taking. So at this particular point, I would not recommend this as a long one, but I'd bring it next week. And let's wait for that PTF to turn green on the lower time frame, okay? And we'll take a look at it again. All right, that's ETSY. All right, SNAP. Let's take a look at SNAP. All right, notice it went above our green line here. So this is kind of interesting. So at this particular point here, this was a significant situation to move up above that long for a long-term trade. Notice how powerful this move is up. Again, is it due for profit taking? Yes. So let me just explain something. If I was trading this based on a long-term buy and hold, I could go in now, okay, and put my stop way down here, okay, at the bottom. So the stop is going to be where? Around $8, maybe a little $7.50. All right. So that's a huge place to put your stop. But the reason you can justify that is if you draw the fib retracements in between here and here, okay, you're looking at a $35.50 roughly to $52 target range. So when you take into account where your stop is under here and where you're getting in as your risk, notice the distance to the target is twice as great as the risk. And so when I see a risk to reward, they call that, of 2 to 1 in my favor, that makes a trade on that time frame worth it. Now, if I'm trying to ultra time this really good and I go to the lower time frames, all right, well, this is really extended. This is really extended. We're seeing bearish divergence. We're probably going to get a pullback where you could get in at 12.50. So from a shorter term trade, it would make sense to wait for the pullback. For a long-term trade, because our stop would be so low at the bottom, we could survive a 12.50 pullback and just enjoy the ride up. Okay, so it all depends on what your intentions are. Are your intentions to try to make one trade to get to the target? Well, if that's the case, use the longer time frame, but you're going to be in it longer. All right, it's not going to happen tomorrow. You're not going to get into that target range probably for another year or two. Okay, so it's a long-term trade. If you're an active trader and you're not doing that, well, this is too far extended right now. Wait for a pullback and then go. Okay, so that's how I would play that. I don't like to chase markets, and in this case, you'd be chasing the markets for a short-term trade. So that is, again, you need to assess what your intentions are as a trader in order to make the right type of trade for you. Okay. And again, if your broker called you and said, get into Snap, you have a choice. You can either wait for a pullback and get in, or go in now and put your stop really low. And, if he's calling you to buy it, he's right. I mean, it would be a good buy because it is got quite a ways to go. But is the price going to be perfect at this price? Probably not. But for a long-term trade, you're not going to really care that much because you still should make a lot more money than the risk. Okay, so that's kind of the thinking behind that. All right, I always look at all three time frames and I try to use those to the best of my advantage. So I would wait for the pullback and then go. All right, so that is SNAP, S-E-A-S. If you're in it, again, you have to decide on your intentions. Is this a long-term trade or a short-term trade? I don't know what price you got in it, but you got a beautiful 60-minute chart to help you get out if you want to get out before the profit taking. All right, let's take a look at C's. All right, C's is breaking to the upside. Okay, again, right away. And this again is why it's so important when you trade the markets, you got to have the right tools. And these tools are outstanding because right away, all right, I'm looking at this, I go, oh, possible bottom. Then I look at this and go, okay. So having the multiple time frames with the right tools is telling me what kind of trade it is. This is not going to be a long-term trade because of that red PTF. That red PTF would have to be green or yellow for me to think that this could possibly be a bullish long-term trade. So instead, right away, I'm thinking this is a slight temporary move up for shorts covering, which is called profit taking, all right? And possibly some people thinking their bottom is in. So in this case here, I would not trade it because this move, all right, is temporary. And let's see how far this move could go. And the target, we're already in it. So we're getting kind of in at the end of it. We have a yellow PTF now here. We have bearish divergence building even on the 60-minute chart. So I'm thinking this thing is going to come back down at some point. All right. So Al, enjoy the ride up for as long as you can, but make sure you keep the stops close enough so when this thing comes back down, you lock in that profit. All right. CBRE is our next one. All right. So let's take a look at this. All right. CBRE. All right, so on this one here, we've got some interesting shifts coming along. All right, so notice here for a while, we had kind of like this was a long time, oscillating market, right? So if you bought here, all right, you'd pretty much be just a little bit, almost break even, maybe a little bit of profit over the last, what, year and a half? So, you know, not so good, right? Went up, went back down, went up. So as short-term traders, what we want to try to do is see if we can profit, okay, off these short-term swings in the market. And let's see what we've got cooking here. So we got a green PTF here. This is green. We have pyramids coming up. All right, and we have a move down here. Bearish divergence building here. So we're probably going to get some type of pullback here. I'm going to open up this chart here just to get a sense of what's going on. All right, so that's a wave 3, a long-term wave 3. So let's draw it and see if it's pulled back enough for that particular target. And for that, I think I'm going to go way back here. And the answer is yes. Okay, so that's a good sign. We may have a bottom in here. All right, so that's a good sign. So we still have an active pyramid, keeping you as short as possible. This is still red, so it still could possibly go back into the target zone. But again, if I reach a target zone, I'm usually scaling out with some of those profits. So I'm not convinced at this point that this makes for a great long trade, simply because, you know, if this thing is going to keep rolling along, all right, then probably we should turn around soon, and that's what this is saying here. Okay, so I'm not thinking, probably will get a little bit higher, but the PTF's not helping us because the highest high is here. So I would not do this one, okay? But thank you for sharing that. All right, good job. All right, Mark, how are you, Mark? Okay, let's take a look at ALB. All right, so ALB, you know, if you want to, you can tell me whether you're in a position long or short, and if you're considering a long or short. Okay, so what's going on with this one? All right, so it's obviously been trending down for quite some time, and it was kind of messy for the last year. So pretty kind of messy market on the lower time frame, at least on the daily. Now, what's interesting here is we still have a red PTF. Now, this thing is retraced already quite a bit. Let me just see if, even if it's a long-term retracement, if we're beyond, yeah, we're kind of going down too far here. All right, so let's see, 1, 2, and then if this is a 2 here, all right, then what that is saying, you've already breached a 1. All right, so if this is a 1 and this is a 2, and prices have already breached the 1, this cannot be a 4, okay? So what is that? Well, it could be a this could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you know, on a monthly chart could be a wave 1, all right? And this could be a wave 2. So after this finishes, you could get a big move up long term, possible, all right? So, okay, that's one possible wave count on that. So I'm not going to jump in right now with this because the red PTF on the weekly chart is saying we got one more little short-term low before it is done. Short term, it looks like we're going up to a fib retracement area, which could be kind of significant. So this may be a trade in itself to the long side if you're going to play that. But I'm trying to figure out exactly how high that could be. So let's draw some fib retracements in there. And maybe getting up into the 165, we're at 127. So that's possible. But I don't like the fact that we have a red PTF still on the owl. We do have green over here. So if you wanted to try that, you no longer have a short trade active here. You do have one here, so use half a trade size. But I wouldn't go into this until this goes green, and then this is the target you can reach. So if this thing goes up here and turns green here, all right, you're too close to the target anyway. So no go on this one at this particular point. All right, let's see what else we got here. Al's back with a few others. KR, let's take a look at that bad boy. All right, so let's see what you're doing. Okay, possible longs on these? Not quite, I don't think. And the reason is that I think it's still possibly coming down into a target area. So we've got a red active pyramid here, and we're kind of in the target right now. I would say, Al, let's wait a little while on this. I want to make sure the target is done. We're so close to the top of this pyramid here. Let's wait for that to be taken out, unless it makes more lows first, then we'll reassess it. You do have some bullishness coming in, but it's not concrete enough to make a long trade at this point, okay? So no go on that. CANO, and of course, this is all my opinion, so based on my tools. All right, so what's going on with this? All right, nice big breakout. All right, pretty cheap stock, and then boom, almost bankrupt, looks like. All right, so then this is probably some type of buyout or merger or something going on here. All right, so more highs according to the indicators are coming. But again, let's keep an eye on the 60-minute chart, because that's a pullback. So this is your profit taking. Also, too, let's see if this bottom holds and if this thing is going to try to fill the gap. So I'm not that excited about it, simply because it's such an abrupt move here. It's not an orderly move up. And so let's see if this is a bearish price bar. This is bearish. Let's wait for this bearishness to turn around on the price bar. It's good here. It's good here. So that's positive. But let's wait and see let's wait for some bullish price bars on those lower time frames before thinking about it. So keep an eye on this one, okay? Bring it back next week. You can put this on a watch list if you want, but again, I don't like getting in near the top of a big move unless the draft down is over, okay? So that's my only thing on that. All right, let's take a look at MSOS and see where we are on that. Oh, whoops. Okay. All right, boy, I'd actually like this for a long trade, but I think you all know why not. This, we got to wait for it to change. Now it's close to going green. So if that changes and goes green, then I would say yes. We have no longer an active trade. We have green, green. Really good sign there. Okay, bearish divergence here. So let's see if this bottom holds here before this changes green. I'm not sure it will. We may get a pullback right now on it, but it's hard to say. So again, watch list this one. Let's take a look at this one next week, okay? All right, so let's see about okay, so I think that's all yours there. All right, Al's back with a few more here. Okay, FOXA. Okay, so in this one here, not quite ready for a long, bearish pyramid underway, red owls across the board. And so I'd stay away from this one for a little while. Okay. Let's try about Oxy. Okay. Oxy's still coming down as well. So none of these for longs. Okay. Doesn't mean they won't be at some point, but it looks like we're getting some type of pullback and maybe some profit taking on the weekly chart. All right. Okay, BAII. Let's take a look at that one. Loading. Give it a second. Is that the right symbol? BA. Is it II or LL? Probably II. All right. I don't see that one coming up. All right. Let's take a look here at CAD. All right. Short. Okay, not yet. Green PTF, you don't go against that, okay? Especially when you got that much bullishness. Will it be a short at some point? Yeah, because you got the red PTF on the weekly chart, but not now, all right? And again, you see how fast when you have the right tools that you can assess a market? And this is why I do this, because a lot of people don't realize the significance of having the correct tools when they look at the market. And it really makes all the difference. All right, so this one is more promising. I love the red owls across the board. All right, so I probably at this point definitely took out this pyramid here. So here's the thing, all right? You've still got a green owl here on the daily chart. Yeah, that could roll over and turn red, but it's pretty significant. So I don't think I would go short until that gets closer to the zero line, okay, on that one. So you can put OGE as a possible short on your watch list, all right? Let's see if there's some follow-through, enough follow-through to change that around. So here's kind of what I would do. If you look at the 60-minute chart, let's just open that up for a minute. So we have a couple different kinds of trades we take here. This would be called a PTF trade, right? And a PTF trade means you're using the PTF as the target. And the target is the low of this price bar right here. So there's definitely potential if you go in now for a 2-to-1 risk to reward. No question about it. Here's what I do though, all right? I add price as an additional filter to this. So if we have this, we've had big move up. Let's wait for the retracement and then see it come back down. You may even get a pyramid here if the momentum's correct. But if it takes out that low after the retracement, that's the point you want to go long, go short rather, okay? So it gives you a little bit more of a confirmation that we may not get one more high, okay? Because that could happen too, right? And the PTF could still stay red. So I like to wait for that little additional confirmation. Let a little bit of a inflection point pullback occur. And then let's see what happens after that. And then go in. So I have found doing that saved me quite a bit from a premature entry. So I like it. And technically, if you want to take it on the 60-minute chart, you could, because you got a red owl and a red PTF, and you stopped out of the pyramid on the 60-minute. But that's the way I would play that, okay? Basically, you're kind of waiting for a bearish pyramid on that 60-minute chart, okay? Good one, all right? Very close. WRTG is our next one. WRTG. Not sure that one's coming up. Nope. Okay, I'm not sure. Check that one, okay? CHCOHR. Okay. So in this one, just make sure you didn't get a typo in that one now. All right, so in this one here, big move up here, okay? Not ready for a short yet. Is it possible? Sure, okay? But this also is close to going green. This is green. This is green. This is not subsided. This trend is not subsided. Do not go against the trend right now, okay? And the trend is up. So no short on that one, okay? All right, let's take a look at CBSH. Again, same thing. You've got a bullish PTF and a bullish owl here, and you've got a bearish one here, but you still got pyramids up. So let's wait for this move to come up and see if the 60 is still showing a red PTF. So I would wait for this to turn red. And then again, like the other one we looked at, wait for this type of configuration and then see what your risk to reward is to see if the trade's still viable. Okay. So that's a no-go right now. Okay. JCI. I'll tell you, finding good trades is like finding a needle in the haystack. There's no easy way around it. You got to look at these charts and make the assessment based on what the tools are telling you. And, you know, you got to look at a few, but that's the way it works. All right. So this one, no short trade here yet. Okay. We're still going up, and probably this is a, you know, shorts covering. So profit taking, you're probably looking, you know, a little higher into this target zone before you see any type of move down. So no short yet. I understand why you're thinking of it because you got the red PTF on the weekly, but we're still moving up short term. So that's a no-go. All right, and that is JCI. All right, XEL. All right, let's see what we got cooking on this. All right, yellow PTFs across the border. All right, we've already had a fairly decent move down on here. I'm saying no short on this one. If anything, you may have a long-term bottom here. You may have one more move down. This has been stopped out, so this could be a bottom here. You may have one more, you know, point of inflection, pull down, maybe a double bottom, and then it should go. But do not short this one. That's my opinion. Okay, let me just see. I think that's it there. Okay, RNG for long. Okay, ooh, this is looking interesting. All right, so we no longer have an active pyramid here. It's breaking to the upside. All right, this could be a potential early entry. All right, possible bottom here. This is still red. All right, so it still could come down, but this is showing bullishness here and even here. Okay, let's take a look. All right. Technically, this is a buy here, okay, an early buy. The problem you take with getting in early sometimes, all right, this bottom seems to have held, put your stop under here, all right, is that you haven't broken out of these resistance levels yet. So until you do that, it is a early entry and risky, okay? But it is technically a buy. All right, you just got to make sure your stop is as low as possible. So I'm thinking maybe this first pyramid, you see, that puts the stop 8 points away, so 25. It has to be at least there for you to survive any type of pullback for it to start to really go. So I'll put this one down as a buy, all right? But you understand what I'm saying, okay? It's a little bit more risky because we haven't broken out some of the key levels here. Now you have here, okay, you've broken that out. That's another reason why I like it. You do have bearish divergence, so are you going to get a pullback? Probably, okay? But it also could go higher at this point because this is still pretty bullish. So I'm going to put you in now versus waiting for the pullback on this one, all right? So RNG is okay, okay? Very nice. All right, let's see what we got. Gene is correct. AMD and Meta were winners from Eleanor today as well. All right. And BLDP, winner from Bill. Yep. All right. So let's take a look at this one. This is GNRC. And Al says again from 2 weeks ago. So we looked at this one. We're probably waiting for a little follow through, right? All right. So we did move up on this one. But the PTF at the time was red, so we couldn't do it, right? Now it's green, all right? So that kind of helps change things. red here. All right, looks like we're having a slight move down here, Al, right now. Let's wait for this to turn green. And then I would say it could look pretty good. Now, you know, retracement wise, it could come down here, but you know, this is your first big move up. So sometimes you get 100% retracement after that for a double bottom, right? So we got to be careful not to go in before this retracement's finished. So I'm liking this. I don't think you have a short trade. Well, look how nice the short trade was on this. All the way, you could have entered it all the way from 250 down to 119 easily for, you know, a year and a half trade to the short side. But now that's done, okay? You would have been stopped out on the short trade because prices went above the top of that pyramid, the base of the pyramid. So it's getting close to going. I really like this one for a long trade, okay? I like it. My only thing is let's wait for this downdraft to do it. So I'm going to put this one, Al, I want you to bring this one back next week for sure, okay? This is probably tremendous potential for a long trade after this temporary move down, I think, is completed. So let's see how that does. If you notice here on this chart here, this may be the end here of this leg up. You know, possibly something like a 3, 4, 5, which would indicate if this is a big wave 1 up, the end of 1. So that means 2 and then 3. So let's wait for this next move down to finish. Please bring that back next week because that's got tremendous potential. All right, AMX. All right, AMX. All right, so right away, I see a red PTF on the weekly chart. So I know any move up is profit taking. And yes, you can have profit taking on your short positions because people close those out and cover. I wouldn't do anything with this, okay? All right, let's see what we got here. All right, how are you doing? What are your thoughts on Ford? Let's take a look. So Ford, all right, which is symbol F, has come down quite a bit, probably thanks to their electric vehicles not selling well, right? They had a hard time with that. Big company though, so it should recover. Now, what's interesting, if we open up this particular chart here, let's focus on the current last couple years. So we had a big move up here, all right? And now we're having excessive move down because so we went way below what a normal profit-taking retracement should have been, right? However, the PTF has remained green. So that's showing that once this move down has subsided, as long as it stays green, we will get a lift back above this high. Now you still have red and an active short trade, okay? If you had chosen to take that, we would not have, okay? But in this case here, too early to think about a long position. It has not reversed enough on the long-term charts. Short-term, you've got here a red PTF here. And again, this indicator has a 75% probability. So I usually rely on that pretty well. And that's indicating that this bottom is not a bottom yet. So short-term, we're going to take another dive before we have a chance for this thing to excel. All right. And so I hold off on this. But is it getting closer to a potential turnaround bottom? Yes, probably is, but not quite yet. So please come back next week, okay? And we'll take another look at it. All right, good. Tesla, let's take a look at that one. And give me the symbol for Toyota. I don't really know that symbol. So type that symbol in, okay? So Tesla here is, all right, starting to move off a bottom that created, but look, the red PTF on the daily chart keeps me from doing anything with this. And you have active red pyramids still on the weekly chart, even though you have a green PTF. So how do you read this? Okay, Short term, here's our short-term chart, a little bit higher high, okay? So we should get above 250 again before, possibly coming back down. So I would wait for this to get to 250 or above, see if this stays red or changes to green. If it changes to green, then that means good to go for a long-term trade. Bring it back here, of course, next week to double check it. This chart here is basically saying after this move down is done, you definitely want to go long because we're going to take out that 400 high. So Tesla is still in an area where it's kind of going back and forth at this particular point. And we should see, believe it or not, a move below 200 before we probably break the high, unless that PTF changes. All right, so again, short term, we're going to 250, probably. All right, and I say that because of this green PTF. All right, and whenever I say something like that, it's based on probabilities. It's not certainty. So 250, then probably a reversal down, going below this line here, which is what, 200. So at that particular point, then we look for a yellow PTF and a turnaround again. And at that particular point, if this bottom holds and this holds, then we may go ahead and initiate a long trade, okay, on that one. All right. Okay, so here is your symbol. I see TO. Thank you for that. TOY. I haven't looked at TIU in a long time. TOF. An awful big symbol, right? Okay, thank you for that. All right. So let's take a look here and see what we got cooking. All right. So, whoa, look at that. All right. So, had some bullishness come in, no question about it. That's bullish. All right. Not much liquidity. Look how spotty that is. Whenever I see that, please use limit orders, okay? All right, so we got little bearish divergence building here. We got a red coming in here. Seems like it's coming down a little bit. So again, it's had a big run up. So it may be going into a profit-taking surge here at this particular point. So that's kind of one of those things in terms of whether they reach dividends or not. I have no idea. You'll have to do the research on that. That's kind of, I'm a technical guy. So basically what I do is I don't miss the trend, okay, whether it's up or down. In terms of checking all the fundamentals and making decisions that way, definitely check the fundamentals to see if you're going to do that. All right, so I would not do anything with this right now, okay? All right, thank you though, good. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, hopefully I helped you, okay, with that. All right, okay, BBAI. I think this was a symbol you wanted to look at before. Okay, let's take a look at this bad boy. All right, so we've had a pullback. Okay, we're waiting for this pullback on the 60-minute chart to end, and it may be starting to end. We no longer have a red PTF. I don't know if you can see that, but it's yellow. Okay, so it's moving off its bottom. Let's wait for this to get green. This is green. This is green. We have no pyramids yet on the short-term chart, giving us a long trade, and we have no active shorts based on the pyramids. This is green. This is close. Okay, so close. Al, please bring this one back next week, okay? Because this is one that if we get a go, we want to be in it, okay? Close, but not quite yet. All right, let's see what we got here. OXY. Let's take a look at OXY again. All right, so on this one here, we're still coming down. I think, were you asking me for a short trade or a long trade? I think at this particular point, no long trade yet. We've got we're hovering around 56.5, but we have a red PTF still. Okay. So Terry, I think wait on this one. Okay. Let me just see on this here. Yeah, you got to wait. Okay. We have active down trades along the way. Now, if you're short already, okay, you can stay short. Okay. Because you have the red PTF. Don't exit a short, but don't go long for sure. All right. And as Gene is saying, RNG from Al is a buy, but a little bit risky. All right. Okay, let's see. And as Gene says here, okay, UBAI is so close. And yeah, so bring it back, okay? All right, and for Studios, pleasure to hear other thoughts on stocks. I've been a long hold on Ford and Toyota for a while. I don't understand the market very well. I'm trying to learn about it. Well, we got a lot of company, okay? It takes time, all right? The markets are tough, and we don't have an exact crystal ball, all right? Everything we talk about is probabilities, and sometimes, quite frankly, we're just on the wrong side of the probability matrix, right? And that's why risk control is so important. But we at times there's certain patterns that shine and give us clues, and that's kind of what we look for, because those patterns are usually high probability, not always 100%, but high probability, and that's what we make our actions on. That's what we take our trades on. All right, so great to have you here. Please come back, okay? All right, so anything else? Good session today. You guys are awesome. All right, let's see. I think that's it, right? So let me just verbally go over what we found today. We got AMD as a buy. All right, we got Meta, MTA as a buy, BLDP as a buy, and RNG as a buy. Okay, we're bullish on all the cryptos, but we are expecting a pullback on those, some profit taking at some point. Okay, all right. So, that we have to be wary of. Okay, so if you're in it for the long haul on crypto, make sure those stops aren't too close. If you want to take your profits on the big move up we've had recently, go ahead and then wait for the pullback and then get back in if you can. Okay, and we can help you with that. So keep coming here for that. One last one I do want to look up is TLT. Now, TLT is the ETF for bonds. Okay. And it's starting to show some promise here, but we still have a red PTF on the long-term chart. So I'm not ready to quite jump into this. We have a retracement trade underway. There's no question about it. But until that PTF changes on the long-term charts, I'm not really going to do anything with this. So I'm thinking that maybe what we have here is a move up off the bottom. And we're kind of in that target zone now. So, we may go up a little higher. We still got some strong owl momentum on this indicator here and here. We have a little pullback, but one more push up. But, I don't think I'm going to go into that until we get a green light on the owls. On the PTFs. So look at what happened here. Many people thought we had a bottom here, and the PTF was red, right? Indicating no bottom. So we've seen this before where it's come up and the PTF was right, okay, and it took out the bottom. At that point, it turned neutral. Then it went red again, and sure enough, we made another bottom. But now it's yellow, so this is good, okay? This is good. But now this being still red is indicating any move up at this point is either profit taking, some people betting on a bottom, and, there we are. So I don't think we're quite there yet. I do think if you do the wave count on this, I do think we could be at this point, maybe a 3, a 4, a 5, which ended maybe a 3 here. So we may be going up for a fairly significant pull up and possibly, pretty high, okay? So that's kind of interesting. I want to wait for the next pullback, and you may be able to take a long trade if it's a long-term retracement. So we're going to wait and see. I want to see what happens on the next pullback. So we've had a pretty good string up here. All right, let's see what happens. If we get this, then okay, don't go in anything. Maybe a short if there's a short to be taken. But if we get this, then maybe, all right, at that particular point, we'll get this owl almost going green for a wave 4 in the major time frame. And at that point, it may be worth taking a trade because we could get up to 130 to 140 roughly. So we're going to wait and see how that plays out. But I wouldn't do anything with it yet. I'm going to draw some fibs in here in case that comes to actually a possibility. All right. So actually it's 106 to 121. Okay. Would be a long term, but not yet. So we're quite a ways off before deciding what we're going to do on TLT, but I wanted to give everybody an update on that. Okay. All right. All right. So there we have that. All right. And as Gene says, please give us a like today. All right. So that's it for today. Again, AMD, Meta, BLDP, RNG, and I'll close the room out in a few minutes, but let's go take a look at the day trading time frames for things like the MES and things like that. So as you know, we run a day trading room and we use very short time frames for that room. And on the left is a 15-second chart, 1 minute, and 5-minute chart. So these are pretty short term, trying to catch intraday trends. And it's interesting. We got a green PTF here, green here, still kind of red here. So kind of interesting to see what's going to happen with this. But we may move up from here off this bottom here. So we'll keep an eye on it. Probably get some type of short-term pullback at some point. But it looks like maybe not a bad trade. We don't have a pyramid on the 1 minute chart for that one. Let's take a quick look at the Henry Hub natural gas. This is a fun one to trade as well. All right, so on this one here, looks like a short trade is the way you want to go. All right, maybe a little move up. But anyway, your stop should be up in this area here on this pyramid would be fine. But at this particular point, you want to stay short on that. Let's take a look at crude oil. Crude oil is maybe searching for a bottom. 15-second chart says it's not in yet. And so does the longer term chart. So I wouldn't go long on this yet. Maybe a little bit later today. You know, look at the trade down. What a beautiful short trade this would have been to the downside using the pyramids. So if you got in early in the morning, the way the pyramids would work, you know, you take one of these pyramids to the short side and then trail your stops right down here. All right. So basically, an ideal entry realistically would be a break below this channel here. All right. So as you got a short pyramid here, you could wait for it to break, put your stop here, then just trail it right down. Okay. And it looks like it held there. And then your stop next would be here, but this is an unconfirmed pyramid. So it's right here for now. So what a great short-term, couple hour long short on gold. All right. Looks like it's going down a little further. We got a red PTF here, but we may get a bounce before that. So at this particular point here, my stop would be at that pyramid, trying to survive a short-term bounce, and still very happy even if I get stopped out on that. Okay. Another thing sometimes we do is take quick profits when the PTF goes yellow. So that would be a probable way to do it too. And that's called a scale out. Okay. So that's where we are now. I think I'll just leave it here and close the room in a couple minutes. And again, thank you everybody for coming. And if this was your first time, muchly appreciate that as well. Whoops, Al caught us again. He's got another one. All right, let's take a look here. All right, ACLX. Let's see what you got on that. All right. So again, too late to go long, okay, on this one. Not enough history. So nothing on that now, okay, but thank you for sharing that one. All right, so I'm going to put it back on here. And guys and gals, we'll see you next week, next Friday. We're here every Friday, so at 8 a.m. Pacific time. And love being here. Great to find some good stocks for trading next week. All right, so I'm going to put a little music on. and I'll shut the room down a little bit. You guys can watch the short time frames, which are kind of exciting. And here it is on the micro gold contract, MGC. It's a futures contract, and it's the February 24th. All right. See you next week, everybody. Thanks so much.